Good Sunday morning to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video driven by 802cars.com. They represent 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. No utility impacts are expected through midweek, but the possibility of some freezing rain and icing that could be borderline for some areas. It'll begin especially Thursday into Friday with potentially strong gradient wind gusts starting Friday night and beyond this period. Now late this week in this weekend event, this looks significant enough to warrant a utility concern, but it was just too far out for much detail at this point. Overall, a semi-active weather stretch with a major warm intrusion for the early part of the week. That happens as early as tonight, Sunday night. It's well advertised, especially for Monday into Tuesday. That'll be followed by good project weather with a bubble of higher pressure building in for the middle of the week, also lowering temperatures more seasonable again. Mixed precipitation, including glazing, does dominate later in the week with limited snow accrual. Modified Arctic air is likely after this period. That'll move in later this weekend with quieter weather dropping back into the northeast beyond the period. Looking at currently across the United States, you can see kind of a mundane weather pattern, kind of a flat ridge. Fairly high zonal flow, that means Pacific air is flooding in, and that Pacific air typically east of the Rocky Mountains is warmer. You can see the overall weather pattern right here with a trough of lower pressure, kind of a split in the flow. This is more northerly polar branch of the jet stream. The cold Arctic air is further up to the north. We have a southerly mild intrusion coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico and so forth. Let's get to some modeling. Looking at the extended HRRR high-resolution rapid refresh model, you can see a little bit of precipitation is going to be working in late in the day today. This is going to be happening about the time the Super Bowl begins to start. This is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's relatively light. Notice just some light mixed precipitation. That's going to be across the northern one-third of Vermont. That happens late today. Switches over to some rain showers. Temperatures will actually be warming aloft as a warm front then moves out of the region and north into Canada. Looking at the 6-hour incremental European precipitation types, you can see a little bit of that snow gets in the northern portions of Vermont and then scoots up to the north and east. A little bit of sprinkles or light rain showers across the northern tier. Central and northern areas of Vermont are not affected. This goes into through the day on Monday and then lifts north. And then we have the next incoming piece of moisture here. That's mostly going to fall as rain. Now that means cold ground surfaces will probably affect travel in the morning on Tuesday, so heads up on that. That quickly moves on out. Tail end cold front then brings a few snow showers, not a whole lot in the way of snow accrual. We have a dry day on Wednesday. High pressure builds in for dry weather. And that good project weather is the only day really this week. And don't expect to see a whole lot of sunshine except on Wednesday. It's about the only day with any decent sunshine. Now, we're looking at mixed precipitation types once again. That works in on really late Wednesday night, Thursday morning. A little bit of snow in the northern areas. Most of that is affecting southern parts of Vermont, the southern one half, the southern 4 counties, I think. Could see a little bit of glazing, mostly just a travel issue. The main issue starts to come with the next weather system, as you can see it developing off to the west. We get into a more significant pattern of freezing rain. This is again across the southern areas of Vermont first, but it overspreads all of Vermont. Rain develops in the Champlain Valley as it looks right now. This would be Friday afternoon, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it switches over to rain, so it's mostly a morning event, switching back to rain. And then colder air swings in aloft with some high winds, with some pretty good gusts out of the west that last into probably Saturday with some decent mixing. Running this one more time. 6-hourly increments of the European. You can see the precipitation and the pressure patterns. These are the barometric pressure showing where the low pressure systems are. And you can see that one area tracks mostly north of us into Quebec, drags a cold front through. We cool on down. High pressure builds in for Wednesday. And then we see that southern system start to organize. Jet stream energy comes out of the Pacific Northwest, begins to affect it. We get the first of a lead of, it looks like 2 systems. That lead producing a little bit of mixed precipitation across parts of southern Vermont, a little bit of snow or sleet to the north. And then the next real big day, and the day of the most concern, affects us on Friday, where we have mixed precipitation, mostly going over to glazing conditions with rain. And it looks like it's under a ½ inch, but needless to say, some pretty strong winds on the backside of this weather system here as a departing area of low pressure pulls into the Canadian Maritimes, swings in some very gusty winds across our local region. Looking specifically at freezing rain, we can see a little bit of that occurring across parts mainly of northern Washington County and points north of the Canadian border. That takes place tonight. But what I want to do is run this, and we're going to jump ahead here, and you can see, let's go back here. Right here, this is our next more incoming significant batch of freezing rain. A little bit of glazing across parts of southern Vermont will spread in. Right now it looks like under really a quarter of an inch or maybe 3/10 of an inch. The second bout of this is the one that's most concerning, and you can see it there with 4/10 of an inch around the Montpelier area, 5/10 of an inch over toward areas like St. Johnsbury and so forth. Looks like the Champlain Valley is out of it, but this looks like probably one of those kind of utility type storms you have to monitor. Doesn't look like it's going to be very widespread in terms of freezing rain. Of most significant, we're looking at the gradient winds. These will be gradient winds out of the west. And we can see these stronger winds, this burst of wind beginning to work in across New York State. Really affects and interacts with the Green Mountains. You can see it here with these gusts and the darker reds and whites. And this it looks like this is about 7 o'clock in the morning on this coming Saturday. That's through the day on Saturday, and then finally it begins to abate as high pressure begins to build in and things quiet down. So we're talking Friday and Saturday gradient wind issues. We'll have to keep a close eye on that. GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont. You can see one little bit of precipitation moving in later tonight. This is mainly affecting the northern 1/3. Then a drier period there for Monday. During the day, we dry out just a little bit of precipitation in the morning, and then we're back into another little shot, and then a drier period with Wednesday being the driest day, and then we're setting up for that freezing rain episode where the GFS is not split these two apart. Precipitation pattern showing the storm track really is out of the southern plains and then through the Kentucky River, Ohio Valley region, and into the northeast United States, but the main effects are to our west. And then the west coast is getting hit on a regular basis here in California. Looking at 850 hectopascal wind, and this would be our one area of wind we have to watch. Another is down the road a piece. However, the European is not advertising strong enough winds, and most of this stays really above at summit levels in the near term. In terms of temperature, we have our warm intrusion here, also being advertised by the GFS ensemble. Basically Monday and Tuesday. We cool down on Wednesday, and then more warm air goes above the 0 degree centigrade line at 850 hectopascals about the top of Mount Mansfield. And this is our 2-meter temperature forecast. Notice a fairly flat line right here, not a whole lot of diurnal range in temperature. Weather Prediction Center, next 5 days, maximum temperatures only. Note another cold Arctic blast dropping in out of the plains. Warmer air across a good southeastern portion of the U.S. into the northeast U.S. 3 days later, we get more or less neutral. Some of that cold air begins to infiltrate the region. Quick look at the climate reanalyzer right now. We're above normal, coast to coast. Some cold air getting ready to drop in, and this is what's going to be a little bit later in the week in the upper Midwest. Thanks for watching. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.